So Stephen A. Smith destroyed the ladies of The View as it relates to President Donald J. Trump's mandate to serve the American people. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Stephen A. Smith absolutely wiping the floor with the ladies of The View as it relates to President Trump's mandate. Now, this was amazing. It was a masterclass at being able to walk into kind of a lion's den, get your point across without being interrupted, and totally shut down the panel. Now, $1 million question. Hey, ABL, what is a mandate? Why is it important? That is a great question, and glad you asked. If you look it up or you research with your AI that you use, the term, you'll see different things. But really what it is, it's a thing that presidents claim to say, hey, I'm here to serve the will of the American people. And you achieve mandate by, I don't know, getting 5 million more votes in the popular vote than your opponent and winning the Electoral College and having the majority of counties in the country leaning your direction. It looks like what Trump campaigned on is very popular among the people. Therefore, it's a mandate. I'm going to serve on that. The things that I do, my policies are for the majority of the American people. They're going to be with it. Now, before I go any further, let's get to a couple of clips. Actually, first, we're going to have Stephen A. Smith on The View. Then we're going to have Karine Jean-Pierre after Stephen A. Smith on The View responding to what Stephen A. said, but without Stephen A. being right there. And of course, as I say all the time, if you want to see this video or anything else, links will be in the box. If you're on IG, visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
It's only been in office for 6 weeks. Seems like 6 years, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And he's been going around with his cronies touting his so-called landslide and blowout win. But he won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever. And he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, let's pause for a second. Now, it is The View, so I do have to pause it because they will give me a copyright if I don't. And again, it'll be in the box if you want to see it in full without me. But to say that whole 1.5%, let's talk about what that really is. That's 5 million votes. That's 5 million more votes in the popular vote Trump got over Kamala. So that's nothing to just say it's whatever. And the Electoral College, popular vote, these were extreme victories, especially since Kamala raised 1.5 billion with the B, which is much, much, much more than Trump raised, and that still happened to her.
It is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right.
These numbers you cannot argue against. The numbers are the numbers. Say whatever you want about Trump. Orange man bad, orange Cheeto, fascist, hater, racist, whatever kind of opic Oprah-ist you want to throw in his direction. What you cannot say is that Stephen A. Smith is a liar right now. These are the numbers.
That's a mandate. We can sit up there and play around all we want to. In 2020, Trump didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the Electoral College vote. A matter of fact, the Republicans hadn't won the popular vote, if I remember correctly, since 2004. Yeah. But they did this year. So 20 years after they last won the popular vote, they won the popular vote.
That says something. 20 years is not a short amount of time. That most certainly says something.
They won the Electoral College vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it, 89% of the counties shifted against. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
What's a different...
Man, people are going to look at it and see it that way, Stephen A., because they want to see it that way. They don't look at reality. They look at what they want to look at, which makes them feel good at night.
Definition of a mandate, I guess.
But the problem is that if you're the Democratic Party and you lost 49.8% to 48.3%, and you're looking at that 1.5% dip, that's an excuse for you to say, what we did really wasn't that bad.
Some people didn't
we should continue to do that. No, don't continue to do it. Find a new strategy.
Find something else. What he said is 100% correct. And, you know, I hate to be an unpaid consultant for the Democratic Party, but I'm just pointing out obvious things. I mean, I'm not necessarily reinventing the wheel over here. It's a common sense thing to say, hey, if we got beat this bad during the election, and you got guys on the internet like a ABL saying that Kamala is terrible, we know she's not black, you would think that maybe you would stop doubling down on this failing strategy. You're trying to take things, trying to do some kind of funny business behind the scenes. That's not working. You're trying to make us believe things that aren't true. Gaslighting, manipulating, that's not working. So maybe, just maybe, try something else. Okay? Now, Karine Jean-Pierre was on The View as well, right after Stephen A. And I guess as he was leaving, she was coming in. They should have had them speaking at the same time. But of course, set them up, divide and conquer, whatever. Let's watch.
When Stephen was leaving, she said, nice to meet you, nice to meet you. I disagree with you.
Yes, I do.
And I was curious, and so that's why I was curious.
I do, on the mandate, on Donald Trump and his administration having a mandate. And we have to be super mindful and careful of this because he does not have a mandate.
Okay, so she, of course, is not going to agree with what Stephen A. Smith said. Now, the numbers are the numbers. Whatever I think about Trump, you may love Trump, hate Trump, don't care about Trump, you don't even speak no English, whatever it is. That doesn't matter. Your feelings don't matter. But the numbers are the numbers. No Republican had won the popular vote in 20 years. 16 out of the past 12 years have been controlled by Democrats. And when you had George W. talking about neocons. So this is a new thing, and it can't really be denied.
And what I mean by that is if you look at the numbers, just look at the facts. He won with the smallest margin of the popular vote since the 19th century. Yeah. There was no coattail, meaning that it is the House is at a razor thin. Yeah. And
the thing about it is, one thing that was not present in the past that's present right now is the involvement of the mainstream media at a very high level. Not just the mainstream media, but also politicians, the intelligence community, deep state, federal workers, federal government. They were all in on it to try and get Trump out of there, to try and keep Trump out of there. Y'all tried to shoot him. Y'all tried to lock him up. All that stuff didn't work. And you got stomped out in the race despite raising $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion. When's the last time y'all spent 1.5 in an election ever? And when's the last time you spent 1.5 and lost?
He's on his way in the first 100 days to be the most unpopular president in their first 100 days. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is not a mandate.
In 70 years.
In 70 years.
The word man is in there.
Well, that's questionable.
All right, so there we go. So that's Karine Jean-Pierre. Of course, she's going to just hold water for the Democratic Party. Y'all thought she was done? Y'all thought she was over with? Nah, they'll keep her around. She'll be doing panels and appearances. She'll be a multimillionaire. She's not already, because of what she was in the White House. They'll take care of her in D.C. And you know what? As I close, I want to say this. This is the reason why they don't want Trump to get in there, because it's going to ruin the gravy train. D.C. is built up off the federal government. Without the federal government, there is no D.C. There is no Loudoun County, Virginia, Fairfax, Alexandria, right outside of D.C. and Maryland. That whole economy comes to a screeching halt if there's no corruption and U.S. aid and things of this nature. Career politicians, career consultants, all of that is a whole industry that they don't want to end. So when Trump comes in there and says we're going to slash all that, of course they're going to be against it, and they want to just make normies who don't know any better be on their side, thinking that, oh, we got to have federal workers for the people. No, they just want to keep their house in Loudoun. They want to keep their estate out there in what's that? Like Harper's Ferry, all of that, Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, way out far away from D.C., but bringing out their D.C. money. That is what they want to keep going. It's very simple. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. What's your opinion about what Stephen A. Smith said about the mandate? I mean, I think it's pretty clear. The numbers are the numbers. It is what it is. I think it's a mandate. And the biggest thing that he said was the 89% of counties shifting red. They might not have gone red, but they shifted red. Let's say, here's an example. A county that typically wins 60-40 Democrat Republican. But this time it was a little bit close. It came down to the wire, 51-49 or something like this. The Democrats still won, but it was a shift. And that same shift was present in 89 counties, 89% of the counties. You can't dismiss that at all. But whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I mean, shout out to Stephen A. Smith, who said the exact right thing here. I'm not necessarily a fan of his when it comes to his politics, really. He's still kind of woke a little teeny bit, still a leftist, and that's fine. But he has to, even as a leftist person, he has to acknowledge reality. It's one thing to be a voter of a particular group or ideology. That's one thing. But to ignore reality, that's something else. At that point, you are in a cult and you're not living in reality. Most Trump voters I know, not in the cult, we can see the truth for what it is. A lot of those on the left, people that are on television, a lot of your politicians, those irregular people who have some kind of power, they pretend at least to not see reality, and they send it out to the masses. And then some of those who are kind of weak-minded will believe the lies that they're being fed. Those of us who don't believe the lies feel like Stephen A. Smith, whether we be on the left or the right. Reality is what reality is, and that's it. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.